next to the plate is Nick Disabato.
Hey there, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be doing this. So I'm going to be tearing down bonobos.com. They're a huge online apparel retailer. They got bought out by Walmart at one point. But I'm going to do something a little bit different for this teardown. One thing I've noticed as a CRO person is the role of smartphones and mobile in browsing. I think that's very obvious to all of us, but I'll just trot some numbers out. Usually when I'm looking in Google Analytics, I see 1/3 conversion rate relative to desktop on mobile. It's the vast majority of traffic. We're talking at least 60%. Usually it's around 80, 85%. Instagram exists, mobile Facebook ads exist, mobile browsers exist. I believe the most valuable teardown that I can possibly create in 2020 is a mobile-focused teardown. So I went in to Xcode, which is how you make iPhone apps. And I opened this in the iPhone device simulator. So you can do this too. It's free if you have a Mac. And it basically shows this looks like an iPhone. I can click around. This is effectively iOS completely loaded on my hard drive like it would be a normal thing, right? So this is the homepage of Bonobos. And I'm going to go at this from a slightly different angle from Kurt, because I think about it from a UX interaction design angle and from a layout behavior angle, not necessarily here's what apps to be installing in Shopify. So it might be a different perspective, but I think it'll be useful. One thing that for me here, to be abundantly clear, I think Bonobos do a fantastic job of their mobile strategy. I think they actually do develop mobile first, which I think is the only correct way to go about doing this right now. What you see at the very top here is these categories: new, lounge, shirts, pants. What does it remind you of? It looks like Instagram stories to me, right? It looks familiar. And one thing that you notice also is that it kind of cuts off at the right-hand side here. So it just says shore, right? And you can take this and scroll back and forth. Sorry about that. And it gives you a pretty decent interaction model. They're so sensitive about making it clear where things can scroll. One thing that I notice is that you make your masthead image completely fit exactly neatly above the fold. Sorry to cite the fold, but they make it so that you have to actually scroll down from where you are to go about reading this, which means you start getting in the habit of scrolling down. You notice another thing that just happened as I scrolled down? This is really important. Search Bonobos becomes the link at the very top instead of the actual nav, the actual logo. So you can type this in, and then it gives you category listings as well. So this actually takes you to the navigation. It doesn't look like it, but it highlights the search field by default. I think this is brilliant. I don't see enough stores doing something this smartly at all. And I wish more places did this. I think there's probably an app out there to do it, or there will be eventually. But and then when you start typing in something, if I type in t-shirt, it starts automatically, every character that I type starts giving me images. It gives me clear auto suggestions, and then I can click one of these and scroll down accordingly. Going back out and taking a look in the navigation, it retains my autocomplete, which is great. But then I go back here. The first thing they have at the very top is new. This is important in general, having new and popular links in your navigation and giving them primacy, especially on mobile, super useful. But having new items in right now matters because everyone is anxious about in-stock states. So showing what is available right now and showing that very clearly that you have things that are available right now keeps people from clicking around and dealing with the anxiety of clicking through and finding out that it's not in their size or it's not in stock at all. I think not enough stores pull things off of the product listing when it's actually out of stock, and the fact that everything has disrupted the supply chain right now means that shoppers are browsing with additional anxiety as to the in-stock state. And I think that anxiety is heightened on mobile because, quite frankly, it's harder to open a billion tabs on mobile and start clicking through and understand kind of the overall problem space, right? So that's super useful. On the nav, if I keep scrolling down, you see that the search field stays stuck at the top here. That's brilliant. And then when I get to the very bottom, it goes away. So you can get to utility links. Visit us, get 25% off, and you get to these secondary links. Note also that typographically, they look significantly different and don't have associated images from the main categories on the store. That's something that you want to be enforcing for a hierarchy between primary and secondary navigation models. Scrolling down even further, there are a couple things that are a little weird about this. One of them is the masthead. It has a rotator technically, so if I click here, it gives me this. My strong suspicion is if they ran heat maps on this, nobody is actually clicking this to see what the second item is. Almost everybody is clicking on this shop reissued Rivieras. This isn't changing by default, and I actually think that might be a problem. But then you run into the additional issue of if I'm hovering something and about to tap it, if it slides away all of a sudden from under my finger, you've had this happen to you, it sucks, right? I don't think that really works here. I would rather just have a one tile, don't have a carousel at all, A/B test which one works best, keep it there, renegotiate it every few weeks because the current moment is going to change a lot. This explore link is a little cluttery. Down here, brilliant. Shop work from home bundles. You know what? I work from home all the time. I've seen so many apparel companies start to target work from home. I think it's an amazing idea. This full bleed, 100% width, keeping it relatively samey. They're the same height. There's an interesting background image. They all look like the same kind of call to action button. And then you get to the bottom. Service the Ninja way, fine. I don't understand why these are both here at the same copy. And I don't understand why these aren't buttons. But those are kind of quibbles. And probably nobody's going to read them in practice because very few people will end up scrolling to the bottom of the page. Taking a look at category pages. Let's tap one ahead. So they do a lot of things really, really well here. One, as I mentioned before, when things start moving off the side of the screen like this, having this be swipeable is amazing. And it's a good way of kind of filtering and sorting from what you actually have in place here. I believe I did all apparel, so fine. The sorting mechanism is great. Having the specific number of items up here is great. One thing that's missing at the very top is pagination. You might want to change the amount of items that are available on the page. You might want to change those toggles. You can kind of see that here, but then you go into sort of weird gaping maw of insanity where you have blazer fit, blazer size, pant length, pant waist. You don't want to have these dimensions available for product listings that have many, many different options because people haven't really selected a subcategory yet, and they don't know whether or not they're searching for a blazer in the first place. So this is getting a little bit ahead of themselves, but they probably just put it in place because it's default. I think they could go one further and make it a little bit easier and cleaner by removing this until you get to a subcategory page, and then it appears. I think that would make a lot more sense. Scrolling down, there are a couple of good things and a couple of weird things about this. One of the good things is full bleed, consistent imagery on a white background. That's wonderful. 4 fits is a little bit weird. What does that mean? Slim fit, different size, long sleeve. It's unclear. I like that they have this description copy, but having it cut off with bold colors, comma, is a little bit awkward. Quick shop links, always A/B test them because generally speaking, they don't work. Quick shop is one of those things that always feels like a good idea. You install an app and then it clutters up the page. Usually people probably tap through, they'll hold down and tap through that way. I love that they have swatches here. I think it's sort of crazy that they have 59 variant or 58 different options here. And when you tap this 54, it actually just takes you to the product detail page and does not create like a tooltip that shows you all the different swatch colors. But when I do tap one of these, it does a great job of updating the product imagery accordingly. And it also updates the price when it's on sale, which is really great to see having here. The weird thing is when you go back, it updates the price. So I think there might be a bug here that I'm not really seeing. And then I know I'm a little pressed for time, so I'm going to go to a product detail page and talk about a couple of things. One of them is this image gallery. This is one of the smartest done image galleries that I've seen because it looks like a normal image that you can kind of swipe across. It looks actually made for mobile and doesn't need image thumbnails. And you can lazy load the subsequent images later on. One thing that's weird is this color, neck type, shirt pocket, shirt size, shirt fit, slit, shirt length. This is 6 options, and it's way too much decision-making for a frigging t-shirt. Default these. Don't just make it so that I have to actually put in brain cells to try and figure out whether or not I want a regular or a short shirt length. And if something is not an option and it reduces it to one option, get rid of it. Overall, I like the cross-selling. This is a little bit awkward for the reviews, having a ton of different controls. Run heat maps on this page and tell me whether anyone ever plays with these. They usually don't. And there's way too many reviews for mobile, and they're not really curated, but that's about it. So that was a super, super fast, like very mobile focused view of Bonobos. Overall, they keep their content pretty clean. They keep it relatively easy to look at. And this is a lot of fun to kind of poke apart. If you're curious about more teardown stuff, I run a teardown service that does far more than 10 minutes of this. Take a look if you want that for your store. And thanks again, everybody. I really appreciate it.